Hi, my beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Mindful, the podcast. Now, my guest today is a two-time award-winning author, a keynote speaker, career strategist, thought leader, light worker, and a podcaster, among many, many other things. Now, she has been a leading professional in the tech industry for over 20 years, but today she is here to talk about her remarkable, remarkable book, Seeking 74 Key Findings to Raise Your Energy, Sidestep Self-Doubt, and Align with Your Life's Work. Great book. Now, here to share her experiences with us is no other than JJ DiGeronimo.
Hello,
Welcome,
hello.
JJ.
I'm so honored to be with you right now. This is so exciting.
I know, and I read the book and it's I am excited to talk to you. Now, first of all, this book Seeking, this book is a book for self development and self discovery. I have to tell you that. I mean, it's the ultimate. I can safely say it is like the Bible or like an encyclopedia. I mean, the younger folks won't know, the Gen Zs won't know what an encyclopedia is, but it's like an all encompassing book for self development, and I love it. You know, I've been reading a lot of self development books and listening to a lot of self development talks, but I can say, JJ, that this one like has everything, the A to Z for self development.
Well, I was right with you. I've done so much self-development myself for decades, and I really just put in the things that I thought were game changers for me.
Yes, I mean it was. While reading the book, it made me laugh, it made me cry. It gave you that sense that you need to have deep introspection. The emotions just came. It's like every little thing, and it was just so, so, so truly remarkable.
Mm. I
And
just, I co-created it with the universe, so I'm lucky the universe picked me to bring that book into fruition.
and I'm glad that that book came to me also. So I mean, the universe have a way of aligning itself, and that's so true. But JJ,
Mm.
my first question to you is like, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, this is my third book, and I have to say, I was really focused on careers and women and getting there and getting that promotion or getting on the board seat. But I found when I achieved a lot of those milestones myself, I still did not have that connection I wanted. I didn't have those joyful moments. I didn't have that self acceptance that I thought those external metrics were going to provide me. And then the universe has a crazy way of when it really wants you to learn a lesson, it starts, taking things from you and throwing in all these crazy things into the mix. And my life started, just things happened with my family and things happened at work and just things I thought that were going to happen didn't happen and vice versa. And I just realized like, I felt like, is this it? Is this it? Is this like this grind and striving? Is this really what it comes down to? So in 2016, I really started just going to classes I could find online or on Meetup. And I'm like, I need to figure out who the heck I am.
Yes, I totally that resonates with me because it's the same thing that happened to me in about 2016. It's the
Hmm.
same thing, like you kept yearning for more, like there must be something else. It's like that there's more, you know? So I
Yeah, and I kept
totally
getting
understand.
pushed. Like the universe pushes you along, and it's like, well, try this out or do this. And even if you don't want to, it just keeps coming in different ways. And you're like, all right, already, all right. So whether it's a book title, a podcast, a TV show, someone's telling you something, like I feel like there's all these energies that play that are really helping us on our journey if we pay attention.
And I mean, how did your personal experiences and your journey like influence the content and the direction of the book?
Well, it's interesting because my other two books, I just sat down and wrote them. I never did a book proposal. And I really wanted to get this book published by Hay House. So I went to a Hay House weekend, Writers Weekend in Texas, and I put together a book proposal first, which is kind of interesting because I channel my work, like I channel my writing. I sit down and co-create with the universe. So I don't really have a challenge like getting content on paper, especially when I'm called to do so. But this time I needed to write a book proposal, which was really hard for me because I had to write about what I was going to write about. So that took a long time. That took 6, 9 months to create. I did not get any feedback or I didn't get selected. So after a year and a half of putting the book proposal and then waiting and waiting, I got the message back like, nope, we don't, your book didn't make it, And that kind of was like a deflating because I really felt like I was supposed to go that route and I really felt like this book was gonna get picked up by a spiritual publisher. And so I took the book proposal and I pitched it to 6 other publishing houses,
Wow.
and none of them picked up the book. So I was not planning to write the book. I was like, I just don't know. The world must not need this book. I just don't know. So a couple months went by and people started asking me questions that I had planned to answer in the book. And I feel like that was the universe's way of saying,
By the
write
book.
the book. But I still was kind of depleted and deflated. So it wasn't for another 6 or 7 months, like maybe November. I kind of got all the no's in June, July, and it was November that I was like, okay, I think it was November 2020. And I was like, okay, I am gonna write this book now. And even if nobody picks it up, I will figure out a way to publish. If I'm supposed to write this book, it will happen.
It
And
will
so I
happen.
started writing the outlines again. I just started writing it. I didn't even go back to the book proposal. I just started writing it. And then I realized I got to a point where I had too much content and I had to figure out what the heck to do with everything. And I used Upwork, which is an app, website, Upwork. You can hire consultants. I hired multiple content people that work with books, and it was like I hired 4 people and none of them could really get it where like it just was never really coming together. And then I got a reference from somebody that I then that woman, and that's the woman that actually worked with me on the new updated outline. And once we really kind of got the outline down, then I was like, all right, I am going to get this book done. So it took a long time to really lean into this book, which I think I wasn't ready to write it when I first put the book proposal together. Like I wasn't as okay with my journey as I was when I actually sat down and wrote it. So now I just think all of those were just distractors so that I wouldn't write it until I was ready.
Exactly. It's like the universe telling you you're not ready. And then it just delays you for that time. And you touched on it that it was so much content, and the book covers such a wide range of topics and experiences, that help and guide readers on their journey of self discovery. That, you know, what was the most challenging part of writing the book?
Well, as you know, I wrote about the mother daughter relationship. And I think that for me was one of the most challenging things because I love my mom and I'm grateful for my parents. I believe we pick our parents in a lot of ways. They teach us one of our most instrumental lessons is a human. And I was debating like, should my mom really she reads a lot of murder mystery stuff. She hadn't read my business books because she wasn't in business anymore. And I just wasn't sure like should I go and tell her? Should I not? So for me, it was really like making sure that all the people I loved was really delicate but honest about how their impact in my life helped with my trajectory. And I think the most challenging thing for me is after I wrote the book, my mom said she bought it and she was going to read it. And I was sweating bullets. Um, and not because I put anything really that horrible, but I just don't think anybody thinks their kids are going to write a book about them or every chapters, which is, the mother-daughter relationship and how instrumental that is for women across the board, no matter where you are on the planet. And we've had some really conversations conversations because of it. And she's had a lot of like energy releases from it. So now it's all good, but I say that was the hardest part.
Oh, and I can imagine because as you said, sometimes, you don't know what they're gonna think, or sometimes you don't know what they want people to think, or so that's sometimes a little tricky topic. But it was such a good chapter. The book was that chapter was so good, and it also helped me. I tell you, JJ, this book was like therapy for me because I had challenges also growing up with not really growing up, but as an adult with my mother, my parents, and it just resonated with me that you should the way you grow and the way you think, or the impact that your parents have on you, you know it's a lot, and it molds you into maybe who you are now. And sometimes understanding that, no, let you know what you want to maybe get rid of too.
Yeah, I
it
thought long and hard about those chapters, but I feel like for women, and I do a lot of work with women in business and groups, like one to many, but a lot of people, when women are on stage and they're in things, they often comment on their dad. And, my dad was the one that had very little on when women get to real successful positions, are they commenting? And so I did a lot of research just in my own, just in my own conversations. And a lot of people have stories around their relationship with their mother, as my mom does too. And so really getting to kind of how is that fueling you positively or negatively? Like, how are you growing from that? What is the biggest lesson you think you learned from that parent that really was trying for you? And what do you do with that lesson?
That's true. What do you do with that lesson? And getting into the little insights of the book now, because I have lots of questions. I tell you that the book resonated with me so much, and from like the beginning, and especially when I took the quiz, is this book for you? And when I took the quiz, I tell you, it brought a lot of, you know, self-thought, introspection, and that sort of thing. And one thing I want to pick out though is um that struggle with finding your purpose and your passion, because I still struggle with that. I still struggle with finding my purpose and my passion. No matter how many things I do in life, I'm like, you know, what's my passion? What's my purpose? So, my question to you is, how can one find their true purpose and passion? Can anybody really do that?
Yeah, I mean, the things that light you up, the things that maybe you think about that you don't even put on your schedule. Like so many of us have such natural gifts we were brought down to the planet with that we are expected to use. But sometimes we become very good stewards of the person we should be. And we're checking I got that, I did that, I went to do that, now I have this. And like we don't leave a lot of time for those gifts. And I feel like wherever you are in your journey, exactly where you're supposed to be, there is a lesson in wherever you are. If it's a relationship, a job, neighborhood, maybe like what is the lesson you are meant to learn right now? Because that lesson will be part of the puzzle piece that you need when you get to the place next. And for me, I always thought it was a destination, but in reality, I've been collecting puzzle pieces throughout my life that are just now coming together in this very beautiful mosaic that I could have never created at 25 or 30 or 42. That you need each piece of your journey to really give you the tool set
Yes,
to make your mark on the world, to do the work you're supposed to do. And that could be inside or outside of your house.
that's true. Because I have a podcast episode that actually um it essentially says connecting the dots to your greatness. And it's the same thing I was saying that, you know, when like little things and little experiences in your life, sometimes at the time you don't know that, that is the thing that will lead you down a certain path. But then eventually you like see the little things coming together when you think and you look back, you see the little things connecting. And that leads you to where you want to be. So I agree, but I think when people sometimes talk about finding the passion and finding your purpose, people look for a big thing, that big idea, instead of looking at the little things that really makes you who you are or makes you feel fulfilled within, right?
Mm. Yeah, and a lot of what I had done before is outward searching. So I was out in the world searching for my passion and purpose when the whole time it's really inside you. And it's about dusting off the stories and sidestepping the self-doubt and listening to your whispers that give you insight of where to work. And when you work to really kind of work from the inside out, and I talk about this in the book. I work with a lot of energy practitioners and people that just show me new ways of doing things so that I can continue no longer serving me. So I have space for more light and love for myself and for my journey. It's amazing how the universe ushers you along.
That's so true. That's so true. And in like, since you brought up like the energy and the energy, what what exactly are you talking about when you talk about the energy?
Yeah, this is something I didn't realize. And I wrote my first book called The Working Woman's GPS back in 2010. It was published in 2011. And I didn't realize that I was swimming in a mud puddle before I wrote the book. I was in the wrong job. I had two young kids. I moved my entire life with my husband and his job. And I took away all my fuel stations, things that inspired me and lit me up. And I spent a couple years in a life that I didn't have many fuel stations, places that I enjoyed that were my own, that made me feel good. And I got out of reading and out of doing solo trips and doing different things for myself. And I didn't realize until I somebody told me I should take a self inventory where I just monitor what I say all day long, that I had more negative thoughts and comments than I had positive. And when you spend your day, whether you say them out loud or not, talking in a negative tone or worrying or having so much fear or being frustrated or angry at somebody or, this person did me wrong, that affects your energy. And if you think of your energy like a radio station, right? Radio station is FM state, so frequency modulation. Are you at like an 80.7, an 88.5, a 92.7, a 102.5? Like, where are you on the frequency scale? Are you investing in positive energy or are you draining yourself every day by what you watch, who you talk to, what you do? And I didn't know you had that much control over your energy. So a decade and a half later almost, I am very, very focused on what I watch, what I read, who I talk to, what I say, not only to other people, but to myself, so that I can keep working to have a good energy, a good frequency.
Yes, yes, that's true. Because a lot of times the things that we do and watch really, that really affects us. Because I know sometimes when you're really tired, or like right now in my life, um, I used to watch a lot of TV. Used to just, okay, it's relaxed time, so you watch a lot of TV and that sort of thing. But now, when it's no longer just watching any little thing on TV, it's now, listening to podcasts and listening to self-development things and, reading self-development books. And your mindset just changes. your mindset changes. And then, as you said, the universe just brings things together. And then you realize
Mm.
that what you were doing before, like, what were you doing before? you know? So,
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've seen my stuff shift so much since 2008. I mean, it's crazy 15 years ago where I was and what I'm doing now, but I agree with you. Frequencies or energies attract. So if you have real positive energy, you're going to attract more positive energy. And if you're sitting there saying, I'm positive and I have all these takers around me, sometimes you've got to set some boundaries of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. But eventually, those energies want to be with like energies. So they're not going to be around that long. And I think for many of us, giving ourselves permission to really mute the negative, whether that's inside of us, whether it's what we talk about, whether it's what we watch. In fact, when I was writing Seeking, like no TV, no reading any other books, no influence of any other content. Like I had to be a clear channel to receive and write, receive and write, receive and write. And when you start mixing that up with negative like I really cut out anybody negative in my life because I just said, hey, listen, I'm writing this book. I have to, has a certain frequency to it. And I just need to stay in the zone. I can't go to lunch meetings. I can't be meeting for coffee. Like I need to just stay in the zone. And I really created those boundaries in space when I was writing the book because I felt like I just needed to vibrate at a certain energy and I couldn't take the risk of having somebody pull that way down and have to work to get it up again.
but it's hard though. It's hard work to attract that energy and have that frequency because we're so used to, it's like we're set in our ways, those old habits. So sometimes it's really hard to, stay on that path to keep that energy. But
Gratitude. Having a gratitude practice. I talk about this. I learned this from a couple authors and obviously Oprah, but having a gratitude practice. And that is like a gratitude practice. Like, I have this to eat right now. I have money to put in my gas tank. I get to go for this walk. I have two legs. I get to spend time with you. Like the beauty of just appreciating where you're at right now, because a lot of people say, oh, I want more money. Well, the universe isn't going to give you more money unless you appreciate the resources you have available to you right now. And we put so much emphasis on money, right? So that's why there's multiple chapters in the book about the energy and frequency we give money, because for women especially, money can be a huge hurdle because we've been taught so many things about money. And that is something that I had to, and I'm still learning, but I've had to really work on my money stories.
and when I read the chapters about money, it made me think too, how how I think about money versus, how you're gonna spend, how it affects you. So I tell you, this book has everything. It's like the A to Z for self-discovery. It
Hmm.
does, it really makes you think. You really have to think, you know. And JJ, in
Mm.
in like chapters 5 and 6, he talk about being overcommitted but still yearning for more. You have the ever to-do list because I have a never-ending to-do list. It never stops. When you think it's coming down, it goes back up. More things go on it,
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people I know I talk to, they struggle with that, always having things to do, always being on the run. And I can safely say sometimes I even ask God to give me 2 more hours in the day. Sometimes I'm like, me just need 2 hours, 2 hours in the day, you know? So, what do we do when we have so much on our plates, but it's just not fulfilling at all? No matter what we do, no matter how many things we have to keep us busy, all of those things, at the end of the day, we're still saying, okay, what next?
Mm. Yeah, I can appreciate this because I've been there. And when I was putting my books together, I would always ask leaders and successful women, like, how do you decide what to do? Like, they'd always say, mind your yeses, be careful of what you commit to. Time is your biggest asset. But for me, I'm like, well, how? How do I do that? And so one morning when I woke up, I got this chart idea of putting this chart together, which I'll share with you and your listeners, but I call it the Power of No chart. And it has 6 columns, and I'll just highlight what they are. But the first one is, what have you already committed to? So list everything you've already committed to, everything you've already said yes to. And when I first put this chart together, I printed out one 8x11 sheet. By the end of the week, I had four sheets because I had. So that's column one. Column two is who's asking you for this commitment? Is this a friend, a family, a coworker, a sibling, whoever that is? Because I had some repeat offenders in my life that would continue to ask me for things that would further their trajectory.
Oh,
Number eight. Yeah. Number three is, does this commitment align to what is important to me now or what is important to me for where I am going? So it's just a yes, no. Does this commitment align to where I am or where I'm going? The fourth column is, does this give me good energy? Yes or no? Do I dread it? Is it fine, okay, or do I love it? So it's a plus or a minus, or if you're not sure, you can use a slash. And those questions, when I get asked to do things now, I go through those lists, like who's asking, does it give me good energy? Does it align to what matters to me? And the fifth column is it the right amount of time? Is
yes.
it something I want to give 20 hours to or 2 hours? And how do I maybe reorganize for 20 hours? So I talk about very specific stories in the book of how to do that. And I feel like you need to have some sort of format or chart or something that you're going through in your head when people are saying, hi, can you just take on this initiative or can you do this? Because as you know, and everybody knows, when you say yes to something, you say no to something, but people don't teach us what to say yes to and what to say no. And so this chart, which I'll give you can watch the video, and then I have questions that you should be asking yourself when things come your way, because it's just, you give away so much time so quickly without realizing it. And that is precious resources for the work you're supposed to be doing, oftentimes that often doesn't get on your schedule because we're saying yes to so many things that really shouldn't be on our schedule.
Yes, and that's for me. And that's like every day. You have your things that you set out to do, and then other things just swerve. And even for things like I set out time for maybe like me time. And I'll say, okay, this 2 hours is gonna be for me. But then something else comes up, but then I'm like, okay, I can do me time another time.
And maybe it's a test. Maybe that's a test. Like, do you really need to do that other thing? And I feel like I do the same thing. Like, I set aside the month of July to really just start to think about what I'm going to work on, with the universe next. And the whole month I've already been doing stuff. And I would say that I'm making more mistakes and I'm not, because I'm supposed to be breaking right now. I'm supposed to be resting. And I think so now I was doing lots of podcasts. Now I'm down to one because I want to do a really good job. And then I want to give myself time to write and read. But the universe is constantly testing me to see if I really want it.
Yes. And the universe does test us a lot of
Mm.
times. But JJ, can you talk about the illusion of success? That chapter in the book where you talk about people chasing professional success. You tick all the boxes, and I always say that we succumb to society's pressures and values instead of doing what really is in our hearts. So can you touch on, you call it the illusion of success. Can you touch on that a little?
I do. I do. Because Oasis, like you always think, as I talked about earlier, you always think when you get there, you're going to feel more fulfilled or you're going to feel better about yourself. But every step of the way, that the metrics and markers that you meet, you realize quickly, like there's very little time to celebrate and it doesn't make you feel any better. All it does is it feels like you're even more behind than you were before. And it's the carrot keeps moving. And I think it's orchestrated for people that want to be awakened, because eventually the awakened souls will say, wait a minute, this doesn't really feel right. I feel like this doesn't make sense. I have I interview a lot of energy practitioners that started off in other jobs that talk about their journeys of moving from being an accountant or being in insurance or maybe working at the schools, and how little by little they started things off the side of their desk. And I was almost named the book Off the Side of Your Desk, because many of us have things happening off the side of our desk that is really filling us up.
That's so true. And the other day I spoke to a friend of mine, and he was saying, he's over 40 and he felt like he has underachieved for, the age that he was and the stage that he's at. He has underachieved. And I said to him, what do you mean? Because you have so many things going for you. But it's just that, that illusion of success, those boxes that you think you have to tick off, that makes, makes you feel that you're an underachiever instead of, as you said before, giving thanks, having gratitude for, the things that you do have. And a lot of us, that's what happens. It's like we're
Yeah.
so, church says that we should get married by a certain time. Well, society says that we should get married, even for women. We should marry and we should have kids by a certain age. You should have a certain amount of children, and you must, in your jobs, you must reach this stage by a certain age. And if you're all of those things, sometimes the race to get there, you're like, okay, when you do get there, what? I'm
Mm.
still not happy. I have everything that society says I must have, but I'm still not happy. And you're still searching and seeking, you know? And that chapter, when I read it, it just hit it for me. What am I searching for? What do I have and what am I still seeking? You know?
Mhm.
And
That is beautiful.
that's why I'm telling my
Beautiful.
to just
It's
get the
beautiful.
book.
Uh, it's beautiful. And I would say, what if there is sort of this energy that's kind of over the planet that makes us feel like we're not good enough, or we're never going to get there, or, it's not going to happen? I feel like we have the option to either listen to that energy or shift, right? So that energy often is fearful, worry, anxiety, or we could shift. And mindfulness is a huge underpinning for me for this, for that shift, because I didn't realize that I had that option. And until I took mindfulness training, I didn't really realize that I didn't have to listen to that grinding energy in my head that made me feel so bad all the time, that I could just be an observer of it and choose to be grateful and choose to share love and choose to be happy and choose to be appreciative for where I am. Because when you choose to be on the other side of that energy, because you can only be on one side of the fence or the other, you have to figure out how to get on the other side of the fence. And for me, mindfulness did that for me, as it really gave me the tools to realize that that voice is just a voice in my head. I can choose to listen to it or not. And I can have a talk track that is very appreciative, very grateful. And when I consciously started to make that shift to the other side of the fence, I felt like life got a little easier, because I felt and realized that life is happening for me and not to me. And when I was back on that other side of the fence, everything, oh, this went wrong and this didn't happen and I didn't get this, or can you believe that? I mean, it was just this cycle of negativity. Even if I wasn't saying it out loud, I was saying it inside. And I think a lot of us struggle with this self-doubt.
Yes,
And
definitely.
yes, and so that's why it's like the whole book is really to help you shift to the other side of the fence.
What mindfulness techniques did you use, JJ? Because I know for my Caribbean people, mindfulness is not a thing for us. Like, how do you get that? What techniques do you use?
It could be as simple as just going outside and noticing 20 things. So sit outside wherever you can, whether it's in your yard or at a park or at the water, and just notice 20 things. Because the majority of us go through life in our heads. We're planning on where we're going, or we're reflecting on where we've been. And when you spend all this time up in your head, you are not in the present moment. And if you're not in the present moment, you can't even notice that your mind is not who you are. It is a piece of you. And mindfulness training is just about getting in the present moment so that you can be aware of what mind chatter you have, what's happening around you, what to be grateful for. And for me, when I started shifting to being in the present moment, like really working to do that on a regular basis, I couldn't believe all the messages I would get through people, what they would say to me, because I would see how more gratitude I had for like my legs and my body and my, all these little teeny things that I often took for granted. And I feel like for many of us, it takes practice shifting to get to that love, appreciation, and gratitude, but it is 100% worth it.
JJ, it seemed like seeking when you're on that journey for, self-fulfillment and of self-discovery. It's a lot of hard work.
It's good work. It's good work because if you believe life is happening for you, one, you're not a victim, and two, everything that happens every day is orchestrated perfectly for you to get aligned with your life's work, to learn the lesson that you're in so that you can evolve in the direction for why you've chosen to be down here right now. And we are all here on purpose. There is no accident to us being here right now. And some of us are going to choose to be on the love and gratitude side of the fence. And most of us are going to default to the worry, anxiety, frustration side of the fence. And I feel like I still have several more decades to live. Like, if I get to choose, I'm going to choose to be on the love, gratitude side of the fence.
Yes.
And I want to hang out with those energies.
Yes, that's the energy that we're aspiring to go to.
Yes, and seeking for me is exactly how did I make that shift, because it is a lot of work, but man, it is so enlightening and so powerful. And the things that are happening in my life now, I could not even imagine for myself.
And JJ, in the book, you also talk about refueling, you know, um, refueling, and how can we refuel though? Because I know when you spoke about refueling, you went to a solar retreat and that sort of thing. But for those of us who can't go to like a retreat and that sort of thing, some of us might can't afford things like those that you spoke about in the book. How can we refuel if we can't really afford like a trip and that sort of thing?
That's amazing to ask. So I used a lot of points, hotel and airline, because I was in tech. So I had a lot of travel for work and I was able to do a lot of that with using miles and points. But even if that, just finding things you can do. So I find things I can do all the time, like taking a walk when I should be working, just taking that time for yourself. Sometimes I'll just go have a sandwich and sit in the park by myself, or I'll bring a friend I enjoy talking to. Sometimes I'm working so hard I never even finish a cup of coffee and it's freezing cold. So I commit to myself in the morning, I'm going to have this hot cup of coffee before I start working. Like finding things that make you feel good,
Mm.
is really important. And I think the people you talk to is so instrumental, right? So many of us carry relationships for decades when we know they're not healthy for us. So you might not be able to leave those relationships, but you can definitely shift how much time you spend in and with those people. And so finding people, and it could be somebody that works at a coffee shop or at a library or at the local, just
Yes.
wherever, grocery store or place where you get fruit. You might just find companionship in people you least expect. But my entire spiritual journey has brought together some amazing people, and just like you and I are talking, you can connect anywhere in the world, and there's so many free courses and free meetups that really it just takes a little bit of effort.
And since we're on, meeting people and finding people, um, you stress group and community. We should, find groups or have people in our community. How was how easy was that or hard was that for you? Because I think you formed groups and that sort of thing?
Well, I will tell you that I get whispers. I don't know if other people see this as much, but I'm listening to more books that are talking about whispers now that I wrote about it. It seems like I get it more. But like in 2008, I was sort of got a whisper, an idea to bring women together in tech, which I didn't do for a couple of years after I heard it. And then in 2000, I think it was 2021, maybe 2021, I was told to bring the mystics together. And again, every time I hear these, my first initial reaction is, yeah, no, not me. You've got the wrong person. How could I ever do this? Who would listen to me? I'm not smart enough. Like I have this whole talk track of things I tell myself I can't do. And, a woman 2 weeks ago told me, you should name that. You should name that. Pick a name you don't know anybody. Like I don't really know any Shirley. So I say, okay, Shirley, I got it. I got it, Shirley. You can go back to your lounge chair. I got it. So I name it when I hear all those things. And I really kind of lean into what is asked of me. Like if I get these crazy off the wall ideas that don't make sense, and I could tell they're not driven by fear or worry, they're just kind of an idea. I think about it and then I generally hear something or people will ask me, "Oh, can you connect me to this person or could you bring me this person?" And little by little I'll see it kind of happening and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I do have to bring those groups of women together." And so the last group of people I brought together are light workers and energy practitioners, many of which I've used myself to kind of move from one side of the fence to the other. And now I interview them about their journey, their self doubts, the work that they're doing now, what their family says about it, how they work to empower people. And for me, I think it takes the negative connotation, right? People are like, oh, that's too woo, or that's witchcraft, or that's this, or
Yes,
that's that. You know what? I think that energy that's kind of over the planet doesn't want us to tap into that knowing because they want us to stay on the negative side of the fence.
that's true. And when people don't understand, then that's what they put the negative connotation to things. So I totally
Mm,
get that, you know?
mm,
I
yes.
totally get that. But you spoke about you get whispers. And
Yeah.
I love the way that you put that in the book. You know, you should follow your whispers. Um, can you explain to my listeners, what really or how should, because my thing is the whispers, as you said, sometimes you go out into, when you have an idea, you go outside, and
Yeah.
sometimes, it's in nature. As you said, sometimes it's Shirley.
Yeah,
Shirley,
Shirley's always
sometimes.
around me. Shirley's trying to protect me at all costs, but sometimes she keeps me too small. That's for sure. I'm like, Shirley, I gotta branch out here. I gotta and try things I haven't done before. But the particular story you're mentioning is, I want to work in combination with a bigger energy and I don't want to have to do it all myself. So if I get a retreat idea or someone comes to me with a retreat idea, a lot of times I'll go right outside in my house and just sit out on the porch and I'll tell the universe, like I'm telling a friend, like, I'd like to have a retreat August 24th. I'm going to bring business women together, but we're going to do things in our bare feet and we're going to listen to tribal music and we're going to do fire releases. Do you support me doing this? And just as I'm saying this now, all the trees around my house are going because I am putting that together. And I wait to get a sound, a vibration. The wind picks up, and it's funny because when I put it out, I have very distinct messages come back to me. Like, Emma, does the leaves start to pick up and gain momentum? Do the birds chirp louder? Sometimes I hear nothing, and I go back to my desk, and I'm like, well, I'll wait for the sign. And sometimes, just like I said now, it's not even windy here, but all the trees were just moving, and then they'll stop. So I feel like I get a little bit of like a head nod when I go outside my house and just put it out I plan to do. And I'm like, is this aligned to the universe? Is this aligned with what the work you want me to do? And I generally get a response. I either get a distinct response or no response at all. And either way, it's fine. I go back and I'll start working on something else until I get the next message.
But how do we know that those are like whispers? Is it something that just
Oh,
um it just
yeah.
comes to you? You feel it, or
Well, all of us have different, there's 5 different clairs. So some of us might think it, some might see it, some might hear it, some might feel it. So I feel like for me, I usually like feel it or hear it. So even when I was writing this book, I had nobody to publish the book. So I was walking around one day with my dog and I was like, I'm crazy. Why would I possibly publish a book nobody wants to publish? And as I was walking through the park, I just said, well, if I'm having this problem, other women must be having this problem too. Like that's kind of what came to me. And I was just kept walking, and it's like, you can do this. That's what I heard. Like, that's kind of the thought I had. You can do this. And it wasn't my thought. I knew it wasn't my ego. I just kind of knew it was like, you can do this. Like, okay, I can do this. And I just kind of sat on it for a while. And I was trying, and a couple weeks later, something had happened. And this woman came to me and she said, well, how are you going to publish my book? Like, she had the fear I should have had. She's like, how are you going to publish this book? This and that, da, da, da. No one's going to read it. And I was like, I'm going to publish it myself. And she's like, well, no, da, da, da. And I was like, no, I'm not only going to publish this book, I'm going to take all of my books back and I'm going to create a publishing arm for other women too. And I had no idea how I was going to do it, but I felt like it. I felt it in my bones. Like I was like, yes, I am. Why is this so hard for women? Why is this so hard for me? This is crazy. And so forward in that direction, and I really didn't get any indicator not to. Like everything kept falling into place. Even the publisher that I used was like, I can help you publish other women's books. And I'm like, we have to make it easier for women to get their voices out there.
Yes,
And if I'm having such a hard time, other women are too. And I've got to help fix that.
that's true. And the universe have a way of really pushing and nudging you. That's so true. And it's the same for me on this podcast. Like I stumbled across podcasting, never even knew what that was. And as I said, it's like I was seeking, I was searching for more. You were yearning for more, at that time in my life. And I just saw this thing come up about podcasting. And I'm like, what's that? And I went to the classes, and when I went to the classes, didn't know anything. I was like the only one in there that never heard of what podcasting was, you know? And I went to the class, sat there for the day and just listened, took it in. And I tell you, JJ, it's like for maybe 2 years I sat down and I'm like, but this is something I like. This is something I love to do, you know? And I sat there, should I do? I remember I bought my microphone and I'm like, I have the microphone, but nah, my voice doesn't sound too good. And you come up with the different excuses and the fear. Who am I gonna talk to? What am I gonna talk about? And
And
everything,
here we are.
here we are, because the universe is like, the universe have a way. And as you said, those whispers, it's like all of a sudden for 2 years I'm saying I can't do this, I can't do it, I can't do it because, but then every time you say I can't, something comes up about, you doing this, about podcasting, an ad just pop up on the phone, or, you just skipping through something, or somebody just come to you and talk about something, and you're like, okay, I get it. This is what I should be
Isn't it?
doing. So sometimes, we hear, sometimes there's the whispers, but we ignore them because of fear. And I am so glad that in the book you spoke about the fears and the obstacles and how to get over them. So, listeners, read the book. After
And feel free to reach
analysis.
out. Like if they have questions, they can reach out to me on any social platform. But I feel like the frequency of the book is for people that are really yearning to get to that next level of awakening, that next level of their life's work. And a lot of times we have to clean out the closet so that we have room for new things.
True, true, true. But JJ, like seeking and searching, how many
Mm.
years did it take you to seek? As
Well,
I
I
said,
feel
it's
like
a
my
lot
whole
of
life,
work.
although, yeah, my whole life, I didn't even know I was seeking, but I would say that I really started in 2016, like really dedicated to finding out why I'm on the planet, what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm still working on it, but I have a lot more clarity now.
Yes. So seeking can be there's no time limit. It's a journey, and you have to be on that journey to know the time that it will take.
Yes. And I feel like the book will only speak to certain people that are really ready for that shift, which you clearly are. So that is amazing.
Yes, it really did speak to me. Because I am really
Hmm.
seeking, for years now. I'm honestly, JJ, I tell you, the range of emotions that came out when I read the book, because I am seeking. So I know that, for all my listeners out there, if you are seeking, you talk about things off the side of your desk and things that you want to do, things that you desire, you know, the illusion of success, all of those things is like things that have been running through my mind, things that, other persons have come to me and we talk about these things that we want to do. But, there's always that but, you know, there's no money, but, and the range of things, you come up with the excuses. And it's like every single thing you touch in the book. That's what I keep saying. It's like an A to
Hmm.
Z of self-discovery, because it's like as you feel this way and you see you question yourself, then the next chapter it addresses it. So, I'm telling you, I'm seeking. So I don't know if that's the reason why the books resonated with me so much. But I tell you, it was really, really good. Really good.
Thank
And
you.
you know, what I want to ask is which chapter or any of the concepts in the book that you consider most valuable or impactful?
Well, I would say each chapter has been a meaningful milestone or duration of my journey. So, whether you're talking about your relationships, or you're talking about your relationship with money, or you talk about self worth, or how do you differentiate if you're going to listen to your ego energy or your soul energy. But I think, I love the seasons chapter 2 where it talks about like that things happen in seasons. I learned this from Rebecca Campbell, and I feel like we can't always be blooming in summer, right? We have to have a fall where we let things go, and a winter of hibernation, and a spring of rebirth. And I think society makes us feel like we always have to be blooming, and it's exhausting. And I think knowing where you are in your seasons and giving yourself the space you need to work through whatever you're working through is the greatest gift you can give yourself. My only encouragement to you is make sure that you are working on that frequency band. So even if you're working through the hardest thing you've ever had to do, make sure you're listening to inspiring podcasts like this one, right? Mindful. Or you are watching YouTube videos, right? Or you are having conversations that are uplifting. They're not dragging you back through situations that are draining you. Like you really have to be mindful of your energy, regardless of where you are in your journey. And I think I have a lot of strategy you can do that, but a lot of people do. So whatever is calling you, pay attention because it is a lifeline sometimes or a life jacket. And I feel like those are all around us if we are in the present moment.
Well said, well said. And I think that just wraps up that just encapsulates everything, because my next question was how do you want the book to impact, the
Mm.
readers? But I think that really what you said a while ago really it answered that for me too, and for the readers. You have to be mindful, you have to be present, and you have to listen to the whispers. The universe speaks, it speaks to us. But we don't, oftentimes we ignore it. And I think we have to listen to what's also in our heart, you know
Mhm.
so thank you, JJ.
Thank you.
For
And
the
I'm so honored to meet you. I hope to meet you in person one day. And I will just reassure that if you're listening to this to the end, there is no accident. that you have similar frequencies to what we're experiencing, and that there is a message for you in everything you're doing, including this discussion.
True, true, true. And I just, in wrapping up, I just want to, just give my insights on the book, my let the listeners hear why they should get the book. I keep saying it. I don't know if they want to hear even more. But why I'm so in love with the book, I love the self-thought questions. I have, as I said, I've been seeking for years, and I've done courses and that sort of thing, online courses, in-person courses, really trying to find my purpose. But I tell you, JJ, this book has everything. When you read the book, you don't need to go do no course. It's like a course for itself, because you have the questions that the self-thought questions in each chapter, for us to go through, and that causes so much introspection, and the key findings. I find that for each key finding, the 74 key findings, those are like little nudges, just sticking us. To just think deeply and to just take action. Because some of them is like you have to think about things, and then some of it is like go do, act, act. So it's like for me, it was like sticking me, go push, go do, and it's just remarkable. And I love that you shared your journey and experiences. That was a very first thing as I took up the book and started reading it. I said, this is not an author that is telling us what to do. You're sharing your journey and your experiences, your emotions with us. And I just love that. And because of that, it was such an easy read. People might take up the book and see a lot of chapters, but easy read, because it's like storytelling. We're learning about your journey, so it helps us, and it helped me to say, okay, I have gone through that experience, I am going through that now, and if you can get out of that, if you can think this way, I can just follow, and I can do it too. So I really appreciated that, really really appreciated that, and I will leave my listeners with one of my favorite key findings. And this one really, really, really resonated with me. And this one was key finding number 5. You know, well, guys, when you get the book, look it up. And it was there are no mistakes in your experiences and your yearning. No mistakes. No matter what you go through, it's not a mistake. It's, bringing you to that great big thing. So thank you, JJ, for writing this book. Love, love, love it. And as we say, the universe aligns, and it's like you wrote this book for me. And it's like the
Mm.
universe brought you and the book to me and my listeners. So thank you so much. And thank you for coming on
Thank
the podcast
you.
and sharing.
And thank you for starting your podcast, because had you not leaned into your whisper, we probably wouldn't be talking, because that wouldn't have been a way to. So I'm so honored that the book came through me, and I can't even believe that it's surreal, honestly. It's surreal, but I really believe in the messages, and I believe in the insights, and I feel like this is the time for women to step into what is calling them.
Well said, well said. Well said. And I can't thank you enough. So, my beautiful listeners, do do go out and get the book Seeking by JJ DiGeronimo. I'm not sure. I mean, my lighting, so I'm not sure, but I'll post and I'll put everything. And JJ, I'll put all your links, everything in the show notes. So, listeners, you have no excuse, no excuses to go out and get the book. And the other thing I love, JJ, about the book is that in the appendix, you have all your references, resources, whether it's podcasts, whether it's books that you read, everything. So I tell you guys, if you read, don't pay for those courses that they have online, just buy Seeking by JJ DiGeronimo, and you don't need a course. Everything is in the book. Everything is
Oh,
there. Everything is there, JJ. Everything. I tell you, everything is in that book. I call it
thank you.
the Bible for self-discovery and self-fulfillment. That's what I call it.
Mm, that is unbelievable. Well, thank you. This has been so magical. And I will just say, like, it's mind blowing to me that somebody who's dyslexic could put together a book that someone feels so magical about. And I just am so grateful for this moment, really, because I feel like this is just going to always be a highlight for me. And I just really appreciate this connection.
And we appreciate you and the universe sending you and that book to us. So thank you so
Mm,
much.
thank you.